Hello and welcome, guys. I appreciate you taking out your time to be here with me tonight. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be here with you tonight. We're talking about spiritual health and wellness. We've been over the physical health and wellness and also our mental, emotional health and wellness. This will complete our health and wellness session tonight. So if you're here with me joining in, go ahead and hit that like button and share this video. I most certainly do appreciate your time. Guys, just a side note, so that you remember, these Facebook Lives are just a spin-off of my book, Recreating a Better Me. Now, I know some of you may be confused about the title and may think that this book is all about me, but really this book is all about you. It's about helping you and guiding you to be the best you can be. It asks the hard questions, and if you take time to do the work, you will certainly benefit. All right, guys, so tonight we're talking about spiritual health and wellness, and I hope that you've made your phone calls and liked and shared this video so that others on your timeline can enjoy and join in the conversation with us tonight. So when I sat here to study to decide the outline for tonight's topic, I must say that this is the second topic that I have had that just has had me somewhat stuck. And it's all because I don't want to cross the line between what I intend to get out and how you perceive it. Okay, so there could be some times that I say things that you may or may not agree with. And that's okay, guys. That's what makes us who we are. And it just makes the world go round. So if you find yourself offended, if you find yourself not really agreeing or disagreeing, whatever, that's okay. Because we all have our own minds. We're all developed at different levels. And we all have our own perception of everything. We're not robots. We are all intelligent beings. And wherever your path leads you, that's good. And wherever mine leads me, that's good as well. Because I'm not here as someone for you to follow and do everything as I do and think as I do and say the things that I say. I am simply here more of in a mentor position, more as a conversationist, more as to give you some insight maybe on things that you haven't necessarily thought about before, guys. So I always tell people I don't look for people to follow me. I look for students, people that show up ready to learn and they can take in all the information, keep what's good for them and what's not good for you or you don't agree with. Don't let it bother you. And that's the way some of us are in our religious practice. Sometimes we're so confined or so committed or so dedicated to that religion that sometimes it's hard to come up with our own perception of things. It's almost like, well, if the pastor didn't say it that way, or if sister so-and-so don't think of it that way, then I won't think of it that way. Guys, we're living in a time to where we don't have excuses for anything. And let me tell you, whatever your spiritual connection is, if it works for you, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with it. That's what you have to live with. And if it's beneficial for you, so be it. Okay? So we're going to agree today to just to be agreeable or disagreeable. We're going to give respect one to another. All right, guys, let's get started because you're like me and you're probably thinking, what is spiritual health and wellness? My definition of spiritual health and wellness is being connected to someone or something that is greater than myself. Because, Lord, we know that everything that's going on today, if we don't have a connection, a belief, a set of principles set in something greater than ourselves, I don't know if we're going to make it through. And so it's so important that whatever you find, whether it's Christ, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Muhammad, the earth, whatever it is that you find that connection with, that you feel like is greater than yourself, then that's where your spiritual values come from. Now, I personally, I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe he is who he say he is. Not only that, I believe he is whatever that I need. And right now, I need him to be my peace. And I feel like that I have that because of the connection and the relationship that I have with my spiritual connector. Okay, so it is the groundwork for the values that I live by. My relationship with him holds me accountable for how I interact with you. It holds me accountable for the thoughts that I think. It holds me accountable for developing ulterior motives. So I'm not one of those people that can sit here and say, well, I can scheme and manipulate and get her to do what I want her to do. That way she thinks that I'm here for her, but really it's all for me. So no, my relationship with my spiritual connection holds me accountable. So if I'm having those wicked thoughts, if I'm sitting here because of the pandemic that's going on and I'm living in fear and I'm just worried and just really just taking things as a joke just because I belong to him, then that all that is going to hold me accountable. My values, everything about me reflects who he is in my life. I believe that he is alive and well. I believe that because he conquered death, I shouldn't fear death. So during these times, I can stand in peace. I've been through difficult times before. None like this. None of us have. But if he brought us through all that we can think, looking back over our life, if he brought us through all of that, I honestly believe that if it's in his will, he's going to bring us through this as well. Now, don't get confused as to think that just because he is all that we need him to be when we need it to be, don't think that you could just be negligent and disregard using wisdom and knowledge during this time. Yes, he is our Savior. Yes, everything was created for us to have dominion over. You know, he gave us all this, but there are also laws and principles set in place since the time of creation that if you don't take heed to those laws and principles that have already set, you're going to find yourself in danger. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is gravity exists, right? you go to the top of a 10-story building and jump off, you don't have to worry about whether or not your Savior is going to save you or not. Because at that point, gravity is going to take over. I hope that you guys get what I'm saying tonight. So your spiritual health and wellness is grounded in your connection with that someone or something that you believe is greater than yourself. You can't play with it. There's no way around. Right? Your values, who you are, your character, your principles, your morals, your belief, all of that is a reflection of who you really serve. So if you find yourself at this place tonight and you realize you've been looking at man all this time, now is a better time than any to go and evaluate your health and your spiritual health and wellness plan. Right? We have to have a plan for our physical body. We have to have a plan for our mental and emotional mindset, our body. So why not the spiritual body? It's like I tell you, we as humans, we're not one compartmental. We're more than one part. We are a complex being. We're more than just our hand. We're more than just our eyes. We're more than just our feet. And if you don't trust me, lose one of them. Lose a foot, lose a toe, lose a finger, lose a hand. It makes a difference, guys. Just so with our spiritual well-being. It's important and it's necessary. And now we're in a time to where whatever we're connected to on a spiritual level, it's going to be put to a test. It is being put to a test. I'm here every day in my home, but it does not stop me from wondering, what is this thing that is going on? Now, not to say that I'm in fear in my house, shaking in my boots. No, I just believe in being smart and doing what they say. I'll go to the store, do what I need to do when it's necessary. But I'm not going to be out here being no fool for nobody, because we're dealing with something that we don't know what it is. But one thing I do know is that He knows. The Lord of my life knows what it is. And He gave me enough sense to sit still. That's what I do know. But it doesn't stop my mind from thinking and wanting to know, what is this thing? And I think what has so many of us puzzled is that we think that everything that comes at us and attacks us like this. This is our mind. If it's that bad, it'll be coming at us like this. No, let me tell you something. If I was coming to visit you and you knew I was coming like this, you'd be prepared for me, wouldn't you? You'd be prepared for me when I show up at your door. That's not how the enemy works, guys. Did you know that everything you serve has a opposer? So we have an enemy. And the enemy would disguise itself as something to draw you in. He drew us in when we was on his side. Okay? So this is something that looks harmless to a lot of us. And because it looks harmless or seems harmless to a lot of us, we're not taking heed to the warnings or to the conditions to help keep us all protected. Okay? I believe that this thing is so intelligent that even sitting in our house, we can be exposed. And I believe that it could come in and sit and dwell with us for days on end. And if we're not careful, that it can have its perfect way in our bodies, saved and all. But I also believe because we serve who we serve and that connection, that he gives us the wisdom and knowledge and a perception to discern more than what we hear about this thing and more than what we're being told at this time. So that helps eliminate fear. It keeps us from being in a panic. It helps open up another compartment of our mind. It draws us closer to our Creator and therefore sets us on a better path moving forward. Now, that's not to say that because we're hears that we won't be harmed in any way or won't feel the effects. We're all feeling the effects right now. But I believe that through everything, his will be done in my life. And it's going to be done in my life because I'm going to do my part. So I hope that you guys are encouraged as well to take care of your spirit man. Be sensitive to the voice of your spirit man. And you can't be sensitive to the spirit man when you're always preoccupied with all these other distractions that's going on. You have to have plans set aside, guys. You do this by seeking his face, spending time with him, looking through various resources, not just depending on someone to come on the media or on the television screen to give you a word. This is something you should be seeking in your own nature. You ought to be thirsting for it right now. You ought to be hungry for it right now. And you should be put in such a place to where you are so sensitive to the voice. And that when you make a decision, you make such a wise decision that you're not playing Russian roulette with your life. We want a long, healthy, abundant life. The health and wellness, the condition of your spirit man is divinely connected to just that. I don't know how many of my sisters and brothers today that is living and have no idea what their life's purpose is. Now is the time to start figuring that out. Now is the time to eliminate the world systems and their distractions so that you can seek your purpose for being here during this day and time. It is necessary. Nothing saddens me more than to be in a room full of women and a woman tell me that she don't even know what her purpose is. One thing I do know is that we were not created to be here living to live from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. We were not put here and placed here to be somebody's floor mat. We were not put here and placed here to be abused and neglected and to feel less. And so if we're in a situation like that today, it's time to decide, who are we connected to spiritually? Because if you are connected to life, you should be producing life. Now, if you are connected to a religion or to a man, then you're only going to go as far as that religion or that man take you. And they can only take you as far as what they little minds know. That's why I don't want you to follow me, learn from me, but you come up with your own perception of things, right? Because I can only take you as far as my little mind and my little knowledge goes. No need for all of us to be stuck. So if we take and we search and seek out and we study many resources and expand our knowledge in our mind and our perceptions in this viewpoint of this world, we put ourselves in a better position that when the spirit man begins to speak, we can be sensitive to the message that it is giving us. Okay? So that's important. Also, during this time, in your spirit, you ought to be searching for those answers that you seek. Who are you? What is your purpose? You know, there's so many answers. Why are we going through this? Why was I chosen for this day and time? These are questions that cross our minds. And now is a better time than any to seek out the answers to those questions. Because now we're in a place to where even if we are working like so many of us still are, we have time, if we make the time, to seek out the answers to those questions. And I think that if you would take the time to seek answers to the questions you have, I believe that now is the time that you're going to get your answer. But remember when I told you about when we were talking about the mind? The only problem with you reading and studying on your own accord is because you're perceiving it through your mind. So if you have a small mind, if you haven't developed that mind, then the perception can be off and we can think that we're right. So that goes back to your many resources. So you want to make sure that you seek out many resources. Another thing that we can do is that we can have a mentor. We can talk to people or acquaintances, people that we trust, that will provide us a intelligent insight. Insight as not to impress us, but insight to where you know when they say XYZ about ABC, then that's what they mean. They're not saying it to impress you in any kind of way. This helps also to develop those spiritual connections, because if you serve the same belief in Lord of Christ that I do, then there ought to be some connections, some agreement somewhere, right? You ought to say something that resonates in my spirit. And it's okay that if you don't serve the same Lord and Christ and Savior as I do, that we can still have a conversation and you can still intrigue my intellect sometimes. Because truth of it all, we believe what we believe on the foundation of religion in the first place. And at the end of the day, all of it, whether you believe in Mother Nature or Earth or whatever all that stuff is, it's still a religion. It's still a spiritual connection. And I believe that he created it all. So if he did, then I can listen and I can have a conversation and still come up with my own perception of what works for me and how it connects and how it fits for my life and my purpose for this day and time. Another thing you can do is do meditation or light exercise. It's something about doing low intensity exercise and meditation that causes our minds to just filter and eliminate all the toxic junk that we've accumulated over time. It's just something about it. Have you ever just sat in your chair and just closed your eyes and just took deep breaths? And just let your mind just go free. And just block out everything that you've encountered for the day. That helps to connect your spirit man. You may even get a revelation of something that you've been waiting on for a long time. And if you've been sitting home bored, doing nothing, looking for something to do, I told you guys all it takes is one great idea to change the whole direction of your life. Who knows? This time may have just been set aside just for his people to be difference makers, to change the dynamics of your income, to spend them last few weeks with your family and friends that their rolls numbers getting ready to be called. We don't know. We don't know. And I just have to be real with you guys. And if we don't take the time to connect spiritually, and don't get me wrong, I know people will fight tooth and nail, testifying, saying that they are spiritually connected and everything else. But like I say, if you believe you are, so be it. But now it's the time to be sure that you are. Because you can't tell me that you're distracted all day long and that you're hearing from him, because it don't work that way. I just don't believe he fights for our time like that. I believe we have to have an open invitation and put ourselves in a position to where we're hearing from him. Oftentimes we feel like we're hearing from him and it's from our own thoughts, our own mind, our own perceptions. Now's the time to be sure. You do that, find your mentor, have some conversations, search out his word, find you some resources, do meditation, light exercise. Another thing we can do is focus on positive things. Because he is who he is, I don't believe that negativity abides there. So when we keep our spirit man connected to him, then we ought to be able to find something positive. We shouldn't always be nagging and complaining. And that's what gets me about religious folks. They're so holy and so this and that. And You ain't got nothing good to say about nobody. It's always a negative. How about a positive every now and then? If you can find something positive in your day, that lets us know you're connected. Remember that I said our beliefs and our values, all that is a reflection of who we serve. So who we fooling? Sometimes we sound more like the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all that stuff, wanting to make a name for ourselves. Sometimes we sound more like that than we do possessing the fruit and the characteristics of the Lord that we say we serve. I never have to go anywhere and tell anybody, oh, I'm a Christian, or I'm this, or I'm that. Because from the time you see me and we meet and we have an official hello and logistical things are out of the way, from the moment I open my mouth, there ought to be something that reflects my spiritual man and the condition of my spiritual connection, the level of it. There ought to be something that reflects that. So if we find ourselves in a position to where we have a negative mindset, we're speaking negative things, that to me does not produce life. So how can you be connected to life and not produce it? If I say I'm alive and well and I'm sitting here and there's no breath flowing through this body, then am I really alive and well, guys? So be mindful of those things. Focus on the positive. Find something positive and practice it every day. By the time we come out of this, we're all to be stronger physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Because this is practice that we put in effect every day. This is something we can eat on throughout the day. We have no excuse now, guys. Even for those of us that are working on plans and moving ourselves forward and moving our businesses forward, who do you think give us those great ideas? Those life-changing ideas that we know when it's ready to be set in motion, it's going to change the whole dynamics of our lives. It's going to thrust us into a place to where, all this time where you've been saying that the last shall be first, and you've been last all this time, and you're going to be first. You're going to be lenders and not the borrowers. This is that time. But now is the time for preparation. This is preparation time. It's time to get connected and connected with good people, doing good things, going in a good direction so that you can learn to develop yourself and strengthen your wings. So when they fly high, you can fly high right beside them. There ain't no time for jealousy. Oh, she doing too much. This is the what I've heard about me. Oh, she doing too much. Well, all I got to say is if you see somebody doing too much and you got the nerve to say they doing too much, then what you should be looking at is yourself. What are you doing? Ask yourself, what are you doing? Because now is the time. We are His, and the harvest is ripe, and the laborers are ready. And I believe this is the time He is getting ready to separate the wheat from the tare. He said, let them grow together. So we've been growing together. Now it's time that I believe the separation, that shift that they've been talking about in the church all this time, that shift is beginning to take place. I hope you guys are following me, and I hope that you guys understand how important your spiritual health and wellness is for such a time as we are living in today. It's not the time to fall out and feel overwhelmed and defeated. Now is the time for the real soldiers, the real women and men of the Lord and the God of your lives. It's time to stand up. It's time to stand up and make a difference. It's time to stand up and be heard. Now is the time to plan and be ready to set that plan in action. So when all this, whatever becomes after this, you'll stand firm and you don't have to worry about wavering to the right or the left. I appreciate you guys joining me tonight for this session. This ends our health and wellness section. Tomorrow we will go into how to be confident in your skin. How to be confident in your skin. I'm kind of on the fence about how many parts of that I'm going to do, guys. But we know that we will start that tomorrow. I may put it in a 2 or 3 section so that we can have some conversation on it, and so that I can address your questions that you have. All right, for your chance to enter to win and get your name in our Easter basket drawing, which will be Thursday, April the 9th, tonight, if you would, visit one of my 3 websites and share a brief description of something that you've had to endure and how you overcame it. Okay? Something you have had to endure and how you overcame it. Just something brief. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, but just share with me something that you've had to deal with or something that you were faced with and how you overcame it. So one of my 3 websites, one of them that you can remember is www.triciabraysmith.weebly.com. And for every entry I get, your name will be placed in the drawing for our Easter basket giveaway. I appreciate you guys taking out time to join me tonight. If you haven't already liked and shared this video, go ahead and do that. And if you missed the broadcast, that's okay. You can catch up on demand on CWF Organization YouTube channel or audio via SoundCloud. Thank you guys. Have a good night.